part of what I've had to go through this past year is just like, I don't want to, so I tell myself don't play victim. And I don't mean that to be a bad thing. Like, I think that term can be used in a context where someone's milking a situation and trying to get something out of it. But I mean that, and you can be upset with how things are, or you can let that define you and move you forward. So I would hold on to a lot of resentment of just things that have happened in my life. And it's like, don't let yourself be a victim. You're not a victim. This is where you're at. What are you going to do about it?
Do those moments, are those moments like clear to you?
Yeah. So my mom passed away from cancer. And then my dad, he has Alzheimer's. And I'm an only child. So that situation has been very hard for me, especially becoming a mom myself and not having a family. And I would get very upset and very resentful, seeing my friends that had these big support systems around, and, everything's really just on me and my husband. And I would let that fester, and I would get upset by it. And it's like, this is the hand that you've been dealt. You can either push yourself through it, or you can let yourself, be upset, be sad, but that's not helping you. So I've had to kind of stop myself a lot of the time and just, this is the situation. What can you do to make it better?
Where did you find your bitterness was pointed?
Just, I guess.
Was it at them specifically? Was it at yourself? Bitterness is associated with something. What was it associated with?
I don't know if it's just seeing my friends and coworkers, how they, like if they needed a break, they have their in-laws, or they just have that support system. It's not really just having someone to watch your kids when you feel like you need a break, but it's just that support. And I would just be so resentful because it's like, sometimes I feel like it's all on, we don't have that. And I would let that, upset me, and think about how things could be different. Like if, my parents were, alive or, healthy, how, my life would be so different, and then, thinking about the impact on my children, like it's a lot of heavy feelings, that can take you down a path if you don't stop it. Because like me getting that bitterness and resentfulness of what I don't have is not elevating me to to what I'm capable of.
Yeah. No, I had a period of time where I had such a resentment toward my mom and dad. And the antidote for me was forgiveness and gratitude, and almost flipping those emotions. Those emotions, it was important for me to identify where the bitterness was coming from, the person. No, it couldn't be coworkers, it couldn't be my friends. There's specific people that you saw them on Facebook and you're like, oh, I'm so angry and bitter at you for having your family around, and you're just, I can see you and I like you, but I hate you right now, right? And we don't have to say who it is, but the process of healing for me was in identifying who the bitterness was associated, or the resentment was associated with, and then writing letters physically, going back to thinking, writing, feeling. And I would write to them how they made me feel. I would write to them how much of a bastard they were. I would write to them, I would just get all the things out on paper that I thought, and then I said I was wrong. Because what you taught me was so much more important than what you did. What you did give me was so much more important than what you didn't give me. And what you didn't give me is also being used to make me a better person, to go on this journey of self-awareness, to identify, to get to know myself better. You showed me where bitterness can come into my life and corrode my very fabric of being and happiness. And I thank you for that, and I forgive you for that. And that to me was maybe something that that you would consider doing for all of those times in life, the 5 to 6 times throughout your history, those times that are so silly and insignificant to other people, but mean a lot to you.
Yeah.
The 5th grader that was the one picking on you the most.
Yeah.
This person that you saw when you had those feelings of resentment. And man, like, again, you go back to, you said a couple times, like, giving my power up, like I'm done doing that. This is the actual tangible process to do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'll definitely try that, because you hear that quote and it's like holding on to anger. What is it? It's like giving them poison and there's a quote that's basically, it means you holding on to this resentful and anger is only hurting you. You're not hurting this other person has no idea. Maybe they do, but you're not, it's really festering internally and it's preventing you. And forgiveness is really about you. It's not about the other person, but it's so hard when you're in it, because you're like, no, like they've wronged me, or they did this. They don't deserve forgiveness, but it's really about you. But having exercises like you mentioned, I think would be helpful for me, because even though I'm on this journey and, things are getting better, but sometimes you do go back to that anger of like things that have happened, and it would be nice to be freed from all of it, because it's only hurting me. It's not, that person has no idea that they live rent-free in my head.
Yeah, that might be because we don't really know where memory comes from or why we have it, but that might be a plausible answer, so that you can go back when you are a fully formed, functioning brain as an adult, and you can go back and you can reconcile with the experiences that you had that shaped who you are. And I think in this process, what I found is also that there was a large removal of ego, because if we're made of 3 things, really, right? We're made of an ego, which wants to care about material, who we are, how other people think about us, emotions, fears. There's the consciousness, pure energy, right? Nobody knows what that is, but it's not associated to the self. The ego is I, the ego is me, the ego is self. And then there's the collective unconsciousness of the thoughts that come in that we don't have control over, right? So the ego wants to come in and take those thoughts and identify them with ways that you see yourself for your blueprint, and that's a powerful force. The consciousness is the contemplation side, where I come in and I actually use my mental faculties to think about what this actually means. And so all the things that we're talking about is just a bunch of different ways to go back, to use your memory, at least to partly for what it's for, to reconcile and to say, hey, when I was 12, I didn't know what an ego even was, but this was my ego that told me I was this way, and I've never challenged the consciousness. The original thought process has never challenged it after that. And so therefore, I thought then, I am now, because there had been no further contemplation. And that, to me, when you say like I'm on the journey, it's just a journey of, it's removal of ego, right? And we all have one, and it's going to continue to creep up, but how can you be more conscious? How can you expand your consciousness around the relationship with yourself, the relationship with your spouse and your family and your kids, the relationship with your greater family and your friends? And ultimately, you get really good at those things, right? Then we can start to be impactful for our city and our schools and our government or our state or our region or our country even, and to me, that's the journey. Self-actualization, that's the journey that we're all on.
Yeah.
So maybe doing some of those exercises, writing those letters, it might be painful. I cried. Yeah, on all 3 of them.
That's interesting.
All 3.
Yeah.
And I told myself, I'm not going to cry. But you start to feel it and you cry. Man, that's the emotion. Emotion creates motion.
Yeah.
Right? That motion's that's energy, and you're getting that's weight lifted off of you.
Yeah.
That you've thought about but never put down,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll have to explore that.
Yeah.
Yeah.